I mean, that's one way to take what I'm saying. I don't know that it's the most fruitful way to take what I'm saying. The thing is, my point here that I was trying to make in the initial video that this comment comes from is that when you have comments from the LOL triggered leftist crowd and you want to respond to them, there needs to be a moment where you stop and ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish by responding to this? Because if the approach is the approach at the original video that I was responding to, where it's like, oh, well, here's all these things that show that you're wrong, in a way that is very clever and very amusing for people who are on the left, it's fundamentally operating on the assumption that the people that you're replying to are using the same terms to mean the same things as you, and they're not. And what I was saying is, hey, this approach you're taking is not an effective way to make the point that you seem to want to make, because all it's going to do is be seen as you being triggered, which is then evidence for the thing that the comment was talking about in the first place. But that really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're just trying to remove comments that are objectively false or nonsense or whatever, the easiest way to do that is just to, block the person, and if you can, delete the comment. Just be done with it. And there may or may not be enough people doing that for it to stop being fun, but that's a secondary concern to the fact that you now don't have this on your post. They're gone. If your objective is to make them look like a fool, then you have to ask, who do I want them to look like a fool to? If it's just other people that agree with you, then sure, the original video that I was responding to is a great way to do that. But it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't change any minds. All it does is reinforce existing views, all of the existing views that are already present in that. If you are trying to make them look like a fool to themselves, then you have to talk to them in a way that they will see the foolishness of what they're doing, and assuming that they're using the same terms that you are using in the same way is not going to do that. If you're trying to actually convince someone of something, which of these various options is probably the most noble, it's not going to happen on social media. It's just not. Someone comes into your comments and leaves some ridiculous statement or challenges you, on some speculous grounds. They're already operating in bad faith, and this is a public place. They're not going to do that. It's not going to work there. The approach is going to rely on one-on-one engagement if you have that kind of access to that person. But the point is that what people on the left think people on the right are like, and what people on the right think that people on the right are like, are two very different things. And if you want to approach in any way that makes any sort of impact, you have to understand that difference, and you have to understand what it is that people are hearing when you're talking to them. For instance, one of the things that comes up a lot that people in the left will say about people on the right is that they don't care about the poor, they don't care about children, they don't care about any of this stuff, and they absolutely are against any sort of social programs. Now that on an individual level is broadly not actually true. It is clearly very true on a national political level. The people who are actually in government do tend to hold that stance. But the people who are voting, the people who are leaving comments on your stuff, the people that you're talking to on a daily basis don't actually have this complete lack of care for their fellow man. They don't have this desire for people to be in the worst condition they can be in. What they do have is a belief that the government is not suited to handle the problem, that the proper approach is one that is run through churches or through nonprofits or through other local organizations or through one's own work to pull themselves out of this type of situation. They have an idea on how to fix it, and they are pursuing that idea. Now, whether or not that idea is true, whether or not that idea is accurate, is another matter. But when you're talking to somebody and you operate on the assumption that they have the exact same view of the situation as Mitch McConnell has, simply because they're in the same party as Mitch McConnell is, and simply because they don't mind Mitch McConnell voting in the ways that he does, isn't helpful. Because as soon as you start going, well, you don't care about these people at all, and they know they do care about those people, you just get silence. Like there's just a wall that comes down. Whereas if you understand that their approach is, I do care about these people, and I think that private programs are going to do a better job for them than public programs, then you can start talking about whether or not that's true and have a conversation outside of the comment section of social media where you address that and actually explore that. That's the place where you make a difference. But it operates on the understanding that what you have been told to assume about the people you're talking to is not how they view themselves or how they view the situation. That is simply how one projects the larger political motives onto the individual. And that doesn't work. Meanwhile, by and large, the people who I'm talking about assume that the larger political goals are aligned with theirs, which again is not strictly true. And showing that is more difficult, but it is also possible. And so no, don't take from my video that the only response, the only thing you can do when, the LOL libtard group comes along and starts leaving comments in your thing is to just let them shit on you. That's not what I'm saying. But if you are not equipped to understand the perspective that they're coming from and how to talk to them in a way that it will actually reach the result that you want, then yeah, just ignoring them is probably going to be your best bet.